Welcome to the Locksmith Documentary with Furbaby Lockouts. Here we've got little Murphy, who locked his parents out of their vehicle. Now, I do understand that they do make leashy tools that open this vehicle as well, and you can pick the lock. However, that is not what we're doing today. We are using the long reach tool, and it's more about the little fluffy fella that locked his parents out and was naughty more than anything else. So while this little guy sits on the driver's seat, we'll go ahead and pop this door open for the owners so they can move on with their day. Our sponsor now is Frontline Defense Systems Incorporated.
This is Wayne here with Tri-County Locksmith Service, and we have installed the Frontline Defense latch guard, full length latch guard. A normal latch guard is only about this long and just protects a small area of the door, and it's usually just a flap that protects that latch. This goes the full length of the door and it interlocks. So it actually has a portion that sticks out here that interlocks in with the side over here. This is also bolted all the way up and down the door. You actually have to remove the hardware, and the hardware bolts on top of it as well. This makes for an extremely secure system. It makes the opening a lot more weather tight and weather resistant if you can see light through your double doors. And it just makes everything a whole lot more secure because they cannot even get a crowbar in here to be able to try and start prying these doors open. It is the closest thing that you can do to start turning your door into a vault, short of actually installing a vault door. For more information, check out Tri-County Locksmith Service and check out Frontline Defense.
There's our kitties that we saved today. Kikis.
Okay, so we came to this trailer for this lockout, and they thought that this was the original problem. After we got this unlocked and this unlocked, now we have everything unlocked and the door still does not come open. Now that can mean a lot of different things. Sometimes there's a deadbolt that's actually part of this mechanism here, not a separate installed one, an aftermarket one like that one, but an additional one here. This one doesn't have that either. So why doesn't the door open? We had somebody inside, we had somebody outside, and you still can't open the door. However, if you come closer and you look at this seam, you can start to see where the problem is, okay? Once I remove this and pull the seam from actually expanding into here, the door magically opens, and all of a sudden, everything is actually working fine. So, always pay attention to all of the problems. If we know this is unlocked and we can verify this is unlocked, then we have another issue, such as heat swelling or something else holding this up, or a lot of times what's common on these is this part will actually fail and the internal mechanism or the latch will fail, in which case you have to take it all apart and then retract the latch manually. This is a unique situation, just wanted to cover it. Thanks for watching.
Looks like we've got a pretty tough crowd to please today.
Our next sponsor is Pacific Lock Company, the future of padlocks, proudly made in the USA. Check out Padlock and Pacific Lock Company.
So what do we have going on with these machines right here?
See, over here, these are kind of jack of all trades, just traditional mechanical presses. They do a variety of things for us. In this case, they're taking a military padlock, we call the 95G. It came out of these machines. Every padlock that's machined has a hole going crossways that you have to plug. So into that little fixture, we grab a brass plug, it gets plugged, it pushes it down.
How much pressure does that apply roughly?
This thing's about 2 tons, ton and a half, 2 tons, so not super strong, but strong enough. Over here, it's for the military style lock, so kind of more your laminated, kind of master lock style. Where in here we're actually retaining the shackle.
Okay.
So we punch in the side, and that's what keeps the shackle in place.
Punch it in there.
Right.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool.
So kind of the hydraulic press behind you, they bump up. So these are hydraulic presses. You're getting into 5 tons. You're getting into 100 tons behind us.
Wow.
They'll do swedging for those locks to swedge the rivets. These guys will put logos into our locks. They'll press precision pins in, anti-drill pins, that sort of thing. That's what's getting done on these guys here.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So you guys make a cylinder that has the anti-drill pins in them?
Cylinder, not yet.
Okay.
The lock bodies, yes.
Lock bodies, yes.
Lock bodies,
to
yes.
prevent coming in and drilling and overriding.
These two are definitely plotting my demise. Gotta love the cats.
Are you the culprit? You're the culprit, the cause of this lockout? Yes, you are. All right, so this door currently has no way to access it from the back side here. There's no keyhole, there's no nothing. So that's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be installing a different mortise cylinder on here because this is Primus and the person that manages that system no longer can manage it. So we're gonna need to go ahead and swap that out with a new mortise rim cylinder there and a new mortise rim cylinder with this pull trim from the outside. We're gonna mount this here so they can use the key and gain access from both sides with this alarming exit device.
Okay, so we've got a lot of things going on here. Obviously, this door isn't in the best of conditions with all of the door wraps and other holes that have been drilled, but we're going to do the best that we can to try and solve the customer's problems and get this thing mounted in the legal 36 to 46 inches from finished floor. The first thing that we're going to do while we have the unit off of the door is take the Primus cylinder out. The client is trying to get extra keys for this, and the person who sold or serviced that system is no longer in business or available to do so. Therefore, we're going to switch it out to a Schlage keyway so that they can get keys made. This is a fresh mortise rim cylinder right out of the box. I believe it is a GMS cylinder. We like to use high quality, good cylinders. So we go ahead and cut the tailpiece off to the correct length. You can get that measurement from the original cylinder. Just set the two next to each other, measure the distance from the front of the cylinder to the end of the tailpiece, and take that measurement and transfer it over to the new cylinder. And we just chop off the extra with that angle grinder and put everything back together. Now I'm showing that we've got a few problems here. One of those problems is the unit is mounted too high. So we're gonna have to drop it down just a little bit, but we have that big ugly hole there, and we're gonna fill that in and take care of that as well. But the first thing we need to do is get this, I believe it's 1.25 inch hole saw, and that is where the new tailpiece is gonna go through, and that is where the center, or that is where the pull trim cylinder is going to be fitted from the outside. Now the reason it has to have that smaller hole is because the plate that actually attaches it is nowhere near the size of that 2 1/8 inch hole. So here we're going to trim these screws down. These are the through screws that screw to the mortise rim cylinder. They're specifically designed to be cut, and we're going to mount the pull trim on the outside, and then I'm going to use that backing plate that I had showed before that is obviously way too small to fit over that 2 1/4 inch hole, and we're going to mount it in the now 1 1/4 inch hole, measuring to make sure that the pull trim is even. And now we're going to fill in that big ugly old hole with some epoxy. Use a wood plug filler. JB Weld makes JB Weld wood or the steel stick, either or. But the main purpose is we don't want to leave a big hole that could possibly provide a security risk and allow weather and other things. You just don't want to leave giant holes and gaps indoors. Not very professional to do so. Here again, we're going to go ahead and trim that tail piece. I like to just use the angle grinder real quick and zip it off of there, and then finish the edges and cut the burrs off. Then we're going to mount the unit back in place over the tail piece and go ahead and screw it down into place. Now I'm testing to make sure that the key is actually operating and working the exit device deadbolt. And we're going to go ahead, and now we've got to move the strike plate box down as well. We moved the unit down because it was mounted too high, and now we're going to have to move this down as well because it needs to line up. Now we're going to test the operation and test the alignment, in which I have the proper alignment, So now that we have the proper alignment, I'm going to mark the holes into this metal frame, and once the holes are mounted there, we go ahead and drill it into place. Now I'm drilling the through bolts that will also be mounted through the pull trim to give it extra stability and make it extra durable. Now we're mounting the cover back over the exit device, and the screws just go right in like so, and now we can enter. We can use the key from the inside and lock the door, and then we also have the key from... Our next sponsor is Freeman Manufacturing with the DBM1 flat steel key duplicator. This utilizes a carbide cutting head. I'm going to show that we've got a Guardian safe deposit lock, and one of the really cool things about the DBM key cutting machine is you can actually cut 2 keys at once. So if you need to speed up your process, you can actually stack the keys, and Freeman Manufacturing even approves this method on their website. And then the hardened carbide cutter will cut steel keys as well. So even if you have steel keys and they're not brass, it will still cut those keys very nicely and very efficiently. Now, with a safe deposit lock and a slaughter cutter is what this is referred to, you cannot move side to side. There is no angular movement. Everything has to be a direct plunge cut. So each and every one of the cuts that is made has to be a perfectly straight plunge cut. And you can see that we're using the tracer key on the stylus side and then pushing those 2 keys stacked on top of each other, making 2 at once into the cutter. And here you can see everything is working perfectly fine. Click, click, everything. And there's no hang-ups, no burrs, and everything works very smooth. Cut 2 keys at once. And here we quite literally have a cat in a basket. Next up is Halo Pulsar. This is installing their touchpad on the wall. There's a mounting bracket, and I just simply use my Sharpie, make the 6 holes, and then I actually just use the drill bit, or the Phillips head drill bit itself, and I just punch that into the drywall, and it almost makes the perfect hole for the drywall anchor that will then be shoved into the hole. I don't have to go back out to the truck and get extra drill bits. So it's a very quick time saver little move, and you go ahead and make all 4 of those and put the screws in place. You also need to run the wire from the 120 volt outlet down below and run it up through before mounting. Once you do, then you can go ahead and plug the touchpads in place, and then it comes alive and you start your programming. Extremely simple. If you want to hide those wires, just use some surface mount molding like so, and you are ready to arm and disarm your Halo Pulsar system. As a small business, RMR, or recurring monthly revenue, is a huge factor and has literally changed the way I do business. Simply by leaving some information about the Halo Pulsar security system can add thousands to your monthly income. Click below. Welcome to Colorado, where there just might be bighorn sheep in your next customer's driveway. Our next sponsor is Professional Business Products. Professional Business Products makes a ton of items, including triplicate copy invoices, stamps, custom QR code stickers on metal and vinyl, along with helping you make awesome advertising flyers, business cards that people remember. Having a unique shape is going to help you stand out from all of your competitors. Here we show the aluminum business stickers with adhesive that I personally use, and that drives a tremendous amount of business to me. And then always leave your business cards at local businesses that allow you to leave them there. Here we've got push-pull stickers. For more information, check out customer service at pbp2000.com. Strong arm, Safecracker drill bits and rigs. You are looking at literally over $2,000 worth of drill bits. Yes, this is quite literally $2,000 worth of drill bits. These are highly customized drill bits specifically made for safecrackers and safe and vault technicians by Jeff Velosing, a family-owned business. Strong arm drill bits are what the pros use to drill open vaults, high security containers, antique cannonball safes, and so much more. You can see the length of these drill bits is what's used to penetrate these long and thick doors so that we can get our tools in, and paired with the Vac Attack drill rig really makes a winning combination. They are even featured in the movie The Italian Job, one of the most realistic safecracker movies ever made. Strongarm is also known for the Strongarm Mini Rig Pro. Check out Strongarm drills for yours today.
Well, hello, good morning. Just about to reach out and touch him and pet him.
Now we're going to be rekeying a Herculite style door. These are solid glass doors found in high-end boutiques and shopping areas. A lot of times they're found in malls as well. Here we're going to show that the end cap comes off with a Phillips head screwdriver, and once you get the cylinder out, we can then rekey as normal. These are actually normally going to use that larger tailpiece as opposed to the smaller Adams Wright one. This is sometimes referred to as a beaver tailpiece, but they're all going to rekey exactly the same as an Adams Wright mortise cylinder. So we just take the old key, turn the cylinder over, put the new key in, pop in our new pins, make sure everything is nice and smooth, and go ahead and wash, rinse, and repeat that cycle for all 4 cylinders, making sure that the screws that go on the back and hold the drive cam or the tailpiece are very tight and secure. You always want to make sure those are extra tight and don't get loose, because that can cause some major problems after use. This is a high impact piece that gets used all the time, and that drive cam engages other linkage. So that's one of the most common problems after rekeying a lock with an inexperienced locksmith, is those do not get tightened enough, and then the tailpiece becomes loose and causes problems with the key not being able to be removed, or worse yet, the screw actually backs all the way out, and then the drive cam or tailpiece falls into the lock apparatus, causing some major problems. So rekey all 4 of these the same, and here we are. I always like to add a little lubrication down into the cylinder hole before I thread the cylinder back in to give everything a nice, good, fresh coat of lubricant. Then, once you get the cylinder in the correct position, go ahead and use the small Allen head screw to set the set screw from the side. I actually have an extra long set of Allen head wrenches just for this. Husky makes them, and I got them at Home Depot. They work absolutely perfect for this. They're very, very snug, nice fit. And then once you start engaging the cylinder, I like to wiggle the cylinder back and forth as I tighten the set screw so that it stays in place. And then always verify and make sure you can see that the bolt is actually engaging and disengaging. And then you simply put the cover plate back on, button everything up, and make it nice and functional. Here we're going to do the same thing on this other set of double doors. Yet again, just working that cylinder back and forth, actually confirming. See, I'm looking under there and making sure that that deadbolt is actually throwing down and being retracted back up each time. And then I also make sure that it fully functions in the locked position and actually lock the door. I'll also make sure that the other set screw on the thumb turn side is tight as well, because I'm already in there. We might as well go ahead and make sure that everything is functioning flawlessly before we leave. I don't like callbacks. If you're enjoying the Locksmith documentary, please check out the Locksmith Security Network podcast. Here we discuss the most prominent issues going on in the locksmith industry today with the latest in technology. Here's 2 sample bites.
And break down some of the walls, but guess what? I'm just not one of those people that goes away when you tell me no. I just figure out a different way and do it anyways.
Well, we know the result that we should expect in this day and age.
Yeah.
You know, and we kind of know where we should be
Yeah.
as an organization and as individual businesses. We have goals for our individual businesses. We should have goals for our organization as well. And I'm happy to be a part of that.
Yeah.
The next year and a half, my son will be involved in high school sports, and I do announcing for our junior varsity baseball games in the summer. Once he's done with that, maybe I would be interested in a more active role in the organization. But again, you know, we all have our priorities and such, but I encourage anybody, if you are involved with any organization, and especially one in this trade, be active in it, be part of it. Add your 2 cents, add a nickel's worth.
Yeah.
With inflation, there's, you know, a tariff on that. So right, that's a nickel's worth of information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy. I really appreciate you being on here today. Thank you for telling your story. It's going to inspire and help other people. If you are in the same position and your business is suspended, try and go through the avenues of trying to find a professional to bring them back. There are certain people out there who have had success of bringing businesses back from the black hole of Google, but don't count on that. Don't put...
And maybe give out some awards, let some people retire, let some new blood come in.
Right. That's one of the things I'm facing right now. In full disclosure, I'm on the Aloha board as well. So I understand that. And that's really why I want to ask you some of these questions. I would say all of these associations and the industry as a whole is at a pivot point right now. And those that are willing to be flexible and pivot in the direction where things are going. You know, the great Wayne Gretzky, I don't go where the puck is, I go where the puck is going. That's where you need to be. That's the most valuable spot to be, because that's where you're going to have the opportunity. That's where everything lies. And it is hard to change that old guard's mind. And people are very resistant to change. But once again, if we don't, we're going to get left in the dust. And that's where these associations are finding some problems. The internet and chat groups and manufacturers and even suppliers now. You can get education and training just about anywhere in the country, almost any time of the year, from a manufacturer or from a supplier, whereas they don't have to come to the associations anymore. The main thing that the associations have to offer are in licensed states, you would offer CEU credits or continued education credits. And that's really where that value comes into play, where you can take those classes and the association can still bring in an income from those resources for those continued education credits where there are licenses or where licensed states are. So that there does need to be a big pivot point and a big shift in everybody's thinking right now. And if not, yet again, you're going to be left in the dust and you're going to see these declines in numbers until you get on the right path and the members vote with their money. When your membership starts to climb, now you know that you're on the right path, and how can we continue to provide those things that we need to provide for our members?